Grandma, you willed everything to me.
But why?
This is gonna be a war.
My little girl, I know you're a grown woman now, and I'm really proud of who you've become, but you still need to get married.
Grandma, I don't think I'm ready for marriage, so please stop setting me up on a blind date.
I'm getting old. Soon I will be no more, and I just want to see you happy with your own family.
What if the one person you thought had no place in your life suddenly inherited everything your family has been fighting over for years? What if the only way to claim it is to marry a man you've never met? This is the story of Era, a woman raised by a wealthy grandmother, loved by her in secret, hated by her grandmother's own children, and now forced into a marriage she never wanted. A marriage that starts as a contract, but could change everything. Era had always loved her independence. She ran her small design company and had no interest in marriage, but her grandmother had other plans. For years, her grandmother had been setting her up on blind dates. Each time, Era found a reason to avoid them. She hated them. She hated the idea of being told who to meet, who to talk to, who to marry. The grandmother was a billionaire. She had adopted Era as a child and raised her with care and love. She was protective, wise, and determined to see Era happy in her own way. But her biological children were greedy and cruel. They had always wanted her wealth for themselves. Era thought she had avoided all of her grandmother's schemes, but there was one blind date she had never attended. One final date that her grandmother had insisted on, saying it was very important. Era had no choice but to follow her grandmother's last wish. Weeks later, Era received a call. Her grandmother had fallen sick and was hospitalized. Era rushed to her side, worried. In the hospital, her grandmother gave her the envelope containing the last blind date. "This is my last wish, Era," she whispered. "Please go." Era took the envelope, unsure what her grandmother meant. She thought it was just another scheme. A few days later, her grandmother passed away peacefully. Era grieved, but she also remembered her grandmother's last request. She would honor it. She collected herself and prepared for the blind date, unaware that this single meeting would change everything. Weeks after the funeral, the lawyer contacted Era. He told her that she needed to be present at the reading of her grandmother's will. Confused, Era arrived, thinking it was just a formality. She had no idea how much her life was about to change. The lawyer opened the will. Era held her breath. Every single asset, every company, every estate was left to her. She could hardly believe it. She was adopted. She was not the grandmother's biological child. There was one condition. Era had to be married to inherit the fortune. Her adopted siblings were furious. They had never loved her. Now they wanted everything she had been given. Era felt a chill. Danger was coming from the people she once thought of as family. She took a deep breath. Her grandmother had trusted her. She would honor that trust. The stage was set. Era's life had changed forever. She had wealth, power, and danger all at once. And the last blind date, the one her grandmother had insisted on, would be the first step into a life she never imagined. Era arrived at the cafe. Her heart was heavy. She thought about her grandmother's last wish. She was nervous, but she had to honor it. She looked for the table reserved for her blind date. Her eyes scanned the room. She spotted a man sitting alone, sipping coffee. She assumed he was the one. She walked over and sat down. She began talking immediately. She explained everything: her grandmother's death, the inheritance, the condition to marry, her fears, her frustration. She spoke quickly, nervously. She did not notice he was listening silently. The man put down his newspaper. He was calm, confident, and strikingly handsome. His name was Lucas. He was a wealthy CEO. His family also pressured him to marry, but he had no interest in love. Lucas observed Era. He understood her situation quickly. He smiled faintly. This was perfect. He would propose a contract marriage. "I can help you," he said simply. "We can have a contract marriage. You get what you want. I get what I want. No love, no questions. 1 year." Era froze. She had not expected this. Her heart raced. But it made sense. A contract marriage could solve both their problems. She hesitated, then agreed. They shook hands on the agreement. Rules were set. No intimacy beyond what was necessary. No questioning each other's personal life. A practical arrangement. Neither Era nor Lucas expected this meeting to change their lives. But the sparks were there. Small, subtle, almost invisible. Yet something deep had shifted. Era left the cafe that day with a mixture of relief and anxiety. She had honored her grandmother's last wish. She had no idea how much danger, love, and change awaited her. Era arrived at Lucas's luxurious home. She felt out of place. Everything was so big, so expensive, so controlled. Lucas greeted her calmly. He was polite, but distant. Era noticed his strict demeanor immediately. The first day was awkward. They avoided each other in the kitchen. They ate meals quietly, barely speaking. Era explored the house. She marveled at the details, the expensive art, the grand furniture. She felt small but determined to stay independent. Lucas watched her quietly. He did not interfere. He allowed her space but observed carefully. At night, they slept in separate rooms. No intimacy, no closeness. The contract was clear, but subtle sparks appeared. Small gestures, a shared glance, a polite smile, a moment of laughter. They learned to coexist. The house was large, but they managed routines: cleaning, cooking, schedules. Everything was precise. Era realized Lucas was not cruel. He was strict, yes, but fair. And protective, in ways she didn't yet understand. Lucas realized Era was stronger than she appeared. She was independent, smart, and resilient. Not like the people he had met before. By the end of the week, both felt a strange connection. Neither admitted it. Neither would speak of it. But deep inside, something was beginning to change. The contract was simple, practical, controlled. Yet life had a way of testing boundaries, and the sparks of something more were quietly growing between them. Weeks passed. Era settled into Lucas's house, but danger lurked outside. Her grandmother's biological children were furious. They could not accept Era inherited everything. They whispered, plotted, and schemed. Threats started appearing, anonymous letters, suspicious phone calls. Someone tried to break into her office. Era felt fear for the first time. She realized her inheritance had put a target on her back. Lucas noticed immediately. He took charge calmly. He hired bodyguards. He installed security cameras. Every movement was tracked. Era resisted at first. She was independent. She didn't want anyone controlling her life, but she had to accept Lucas's help. One night, a masked intruder tried to enter the house. Lucas was ready. He confronted the intruder, keeping Era safe. After that night, Era began to trust him completely. She saw a side of him few people had ever seen: protective, strategic, and calm under pressure. Lucas realized he cared deeply for Era, more than he expected. But the contract was still in place. No love, no intimacy. Despite that, small gestures began to show. He left her coffee on her desk. He made sure her schedule was safe. He always arrived before any threat could reach her. Era noticed. She felt a warmth she could not explain. She was starting to rely on him. She was starting to care. Danger was real, but so was the bond quietly growing between them. The contract might say one thing, but life had its own plans. Days passed. Life at Lucas's house was still controlled and orderly, but the tension between them softened. Era noticed small things. Lucas remembered her favorite coffee. He left little notes on her desk. He checked on her after every threat. Lucas noticed her strength, how she managed her company, how she stayed calm despite danger. He admired her independence and determination. One evening, they were alone in the living room. The lights were dim. Era shared stories of her childhood with her grandmother, how she had learned to be strong. Lucas listened quietly. He did not interrupt. He let her speak. She felt seen, understood, and safe. They laughed together over small memories. The sound of it surprised them both. It felt natural, like they had known each other longer than a week. Small gestures grew bolder. Lucas brushed a stray strand of hair from her face. Era found herself smiling at his small acts of care. Neither admitted it, but their hearts were beginning to open. The contract was still there. The rules were still clear. No love, no intimacy, yet the connection between them was undeniable. Shared moments, quiet understanding, and subtle care were breaking down walls neither thought would fall. By the end of the evening, both were restless. Thoughts of the other stayed with them. Neither wanted to admit it, but the spark was real, and it was growing. One night, Era was working late in her design office. The room was quiet, the city lights glowing outside. Suddenly, the door handle rattled. Someone was trying to break in. Panic surged through her. She reached for her phone, but it slipped from her hands. Her heart raced. Lucas appeared within minutes, calm, controlled, and unshaken. He assessed the situation in seconds. The intruder tried to run, but Lucas was faster. He caught them before they could escape. Era watched in awe. He had kept her safe. Every move precise, every step calculated. After the threat passed, Lucas led her to the couch. He wrapped a protective arm around her shoulders. She felt the warmth, the safety. "I won't let anyone hurt you," he said quietly. Era looked into his eyes. She realized he meant it, not just the contract, not just obligation. For the first time, she felt truly cared for. The walls around her heart started to crack. Lucas noticed her gaze. He smiled faintly. Small gestures, small touches, but they meant more than words. That night, Era stayed close. They talked quietly, shared fears, memories, hopes. The bond between them was growing stronger with every heartbeat. Danger was still real, but so was trust, care, and a quiet, undeniable spark between them. Days turned into weeks. Life in the house became routine, but their connection deepened. Era noticed Lucas in subtle ways. How he would watch her when she was focused on work. How he adjusted the room temperature just the way she liked. Lucas noticed Era's small smiles. The way her eyes lit up when she talked about her designs. The way she moved through the house with quiet confidence. One evening, they cooked dinner together. Simple, mundane, yet it felt intimate. They laughed over spilled sauce, bumped elbows, and shared glances that lingered longer than necessary. Later, Lucas offered her his jacket when she felt cold. She hesitated, then accepted. The warmth of it made her heart skip a beat. They sat together on the couch after dinner. Silence stretched comfortably between them. Not awkward, not forced, just two people noticing each other. Era felt something she hadn't expected. A flutter of warmth, a hint of longing. She looked at Lucas. He looked at her. No words were needed. That night, as she lay in her room, she realized she cared for him more than she should. Lucas, in his own room, thought about her the same way. He hadn't planned this. He hadn't planned to feel this. The contract was still in place. Rules clear. No love. No intimacy. Yet, every shared laugh, every gentle gesture, every look exchanged was slowly rewriting the rules of their hearts. One rainy evening, Era stayed late in the living room, sipping tea. Lucas joined her, carrying a blanket. They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the rain outside. The world felt small, quiet, private. "I never wanted any of this," Era said softly. "The inheritance, the contract. It's overwhelming." Lucas nodded. "I know, but you're handling it better than anyone could. I admire that." She looked at him, her eyes searching. "Do you really mean that? Or is it just part of the contract?" He smiled faintly. "I mean it. Nothing in that contract can cover what I feel for you. I didn't expect it. I can't ignore it." Era's heart skipped. She had felt it too, but had pushed it aside. The honesty in his eyes made her walls tremble. They talked for hours about fears, hopes, and the future. The contract faded from their minds. Only honesty remained. As the night grew deeper, Lucas reached for her hand. Gentle, careful. She did not pull away. Their eyes met. A silent understanding passed between them. Desire, care, and trust intertwined. That night, in the warmth of the living room, boundaries dissolved. They kissed, slowly, softly, exploring the feelings that had been growing quietly for weeks. Era and Lucas gave in to the connection they could no longer deny. Hearts opened, and love began to replace the contract. By morning, the house was filled with a new sense of intimacy. Something real had begun. Weeks passed after that night. Life settled into a new rhythm, quiet and intimate. Then, one morning, Era noticed a change. She felt different, uneasy, yet excited. She took a test. Her heart raced, positive. She was pregnant. Shock, disbelief, and joy hit her at once. She hadn't expected this. The contract had never included love or children. Lucas noticed immediately. Era handed him the test. His eyes widened, then softened. "You're pregnant?" he whispered. His voice was a mixture of awe and happiness. Era nodded. Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't plan it. I didn't expect this." Lucas took her hands. "Neither did I. But this changes everything. Our life, our love, everything we are." They embraced, holding each other tightly. The contract, the rules, the barriers, they all seemed irrelevant now. They began planning, dreaming, imagining the life they would have together. The fear, the danger, the inheritance, they all faded into the background. For the first time, Era and Lucas felt completely aligned. Not just as partners in a contract, but as partners in life. The pregnancy was the beginning of something real, a love that could no longer be contained by rules or agreements. Their hearts were open. Their future was theirs to create. And nothing would ever be the same again. Months passed. The pregnancy progressed, and their bond grew stronger every day. Era and Lucas decided it was time. The contract was over. Their love was real, undeniable, and complete. They planned a quiet, elegant wedding. Family, friends, and close colleagues were invited. The house was filled with flowers and laughter. On the wedding day, Era wore a simple, beautiful dress. Lucas waited at the altar, calm but smiling, his eyes filled with love. When Era walked down the aisle, all eyes were on them, but they only saw each other. The world outside disappeared. They exchanged vows, words of love, trust, and promises of a shared future. Not obligations, not contracts, just hearts speaking freely. As they kissed, everyone cheered. Era felt complete. Lucas held her close. Their child, growing inside her, was already a symbol of their love. Life would not be without challenges. Danger, business, and past enemies still existed. But together, they felt unstoppable. Their marriage was no longer a contract. It was real. It was love. It was family. And as Era rested her hand on her belly, Lucas whispered,
We built this life together,
and nothing
will ever take it from us. And I love you, babe.
The future was bright. Their hearts were full. And for the first time, Era and Lucas knew true happiness.